is Care at Kingdom Bound 2013 with Laura Story, the author of Blessings. Hey, Laura.
Hey, thanks so much for talking with me.
Thank you. So Blessings reached number one. It was number one on CHRI actually in 2011. And you might not remember this, but I was here. I met you backstage, I think, Kingdom Bound 2008 or 9, and you hadn't released that song yet.
I hadn't even written the song by then.
So tell us about the journey and maybe catch us up on how Martin's doing.
Yeah. Well, the song was written based on some health struggles my husband went through, and it was just a time of reflecting on, how do we continue to worship God and believe that He is good even when we go through hard things in life. And for us, that's looked like us walking through the past 7 years of my husband recovering from a brain tumor, but also dealing with some disabilities that have ensued since his initial surgery. And it's been a tough road, but we've seen God be glorified in the midst of it, and He has shown us so much stuff about Himself through the trials, and so much stuff about ourselves that we can come out of it. Even though it's not a road that we would have chosen, it's still been a road that we've learned so much, and wouldn't trade any of those life lessons for anything.
And you have been so transparent. I think that's kind of become your reputation, is that you're very honest and you're truthful about where your inspiration of your songs come from. Can you give us a little update on how Martin's doing? Like,
yes.
Can you maybe something we can pray about? Or
Absolutely. He's actually doing really well, and we also just had a little one. I don't know if you knew.
We saw in the video.
Yeah, little Josie, who's almost a year old, and so that's been such a sweet season of joy in our lives, and Martin is such a fantastic dad. Yeah. But he is actually just started coaching baseball part-time for the first job he's had in a few years. So it's been a neat thing, but you can continue to pray for healing. He still suffers with a memory deficit and a vision deficit, which create a challenge in everyday living. But we're still so thankful for all that the Lord has done in healing Martin's body so far.
What can you say, Laura, to wives that have maybe a disability, a husband who has a disability or a chronic illness? Or
I would say, whether it's a disability or whatever that thing is that brings about tension in your marriage, just identifying, the problem in our marriage isn't Martin's brain tumor. A lot of times it feels like it is. The brain tumor is just the thing that the evil one tries to use to put a wedge between us. I think the problem in our marriage is always our sin. And the more we acknowledge that and point that finger at ourselves rather than the other person in our marriage, the more we can begin to really know what it looks like to be sinners, two sinners connected together with a holy bond, and believing that God is truly at the center of every marriage, and that He is the glue for every marriage. And so whenever we go through any struggle, whether it's a brain tumor, a job loss, or a child, that prodigal child that has run off even though you raised him in the church, whatever it is in your marriage you're struggling with, it's turning to God and starting with me being on my knees, asking God to be the center of my marriage, asking God to be the center of my family.
Wow. God of Every Story.
Yes.
The third album. I obviously want to talk about that. October 1st it comes out. Tell us a bit about it. What can we expect?
Well, and we're already doing pre-releases, and I think if you pre-release it now, you can download one of the songs immediately.
Awesome.
I don't know how all that stuff works.
There's always perks to downloading ahead of time.
I know. I'm not sure what those perks are, but I know there's some sort of perks somewhere. Anyway, God of Every Story, it's my favorite collection of songs so far, of anything that I've ever done.
She says that after a Grammy win for Blessings.
And Blessings was neat, but I feel like it's this new CD. It's almost, it was me learning to write from that really raw, vulnerable, honest place. And so I feel like this is a whole record of songs written about my dependence on God, written about even as someone that's walked with Him for however many years, I have felt His love in a new and fresh way. Whether it's from walking through the trials with my husband or being a mom, parenting for the first time and beginning to understand what it means that God our Father really loves us, and that there's grace for anything we could ever do and will ever do. And so there's a lot of great just biblical themes throughout the songs that I'm just excited about getting out there and sharing with people these new songs.
Awesome. Well, I've got to do one last thing. I got to point out your shirt.
Yes.
Banff. Yeah, Canada.
Woohoo!
So I appreciate
Love
your time.
Canada.
I know. We got to have you out to Ottawa.
Love Tim Hortons.
True that.
If I could get like a sponsorship by Tim Hortons and that I could have like unlimited access to Tim Hortons coffee.
Intravenous, would you do it that way?
Absolutely.
A lot of
I
people
would
said
go and
that.
play in Canada and never go back to the States ever. I would just come
to
there
hear.
if I could
Maybe-
just drink Tim Hortons
Maybe
all the
we can
time.
work that out.
I would love that.
God of Every Story. It comes out October 1st. You can pre-order it now. Laura Story, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.